Ray Lee with Speedboat Magazine here with yet another episode of the Boats and Bros podcast. And we are here again with my bro, Myrick Coyle, and probably the busiest woman in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, Miss Leah Martin. How are you, Leah?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I literally just left karate testing for my kids, so it's definitely a busy night.
Wow. Well, so speaking of that, you've had one heck of a week.
We've had a busy week. We gave away a lot of money on Thursday night at performance and made a lot of people happy at the lake, which is amazing. So we're
$675,000. That's huge. That's outrageous.
Yeah. It's a big number. We want to get to, everyone wants to hit $1 million, right? That's the goal. So Ron actually came out with a number and said, we're going to hit 750 next year. So now I absolutely have to hit 750 next year.
There you go.
So no, it's great. Big number, has a huge impact on charities of the lake. Myrick and I were talking at the check presentation, like it's literally fire department equipment and beds for kids and buddy packs and clothes and coats and food for families. I mean, it just has such an impact on the lake area.
Yeah, my wife was asking during the thing, how do you allot the amount of money that goes into each organization? And yes. I think you remember telling me it was through volunteer hours or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So the shootout, this year we had a little over 10,000 volunteer hours, and how that works since it went, the start of the shootout was the Lake Rescue Shootout was the fire departments. And that was before any of the departments were tax-based here. So it was a huge revenue driver for them. So when it went over to the community, and to the charities for the volunteer hours from the fire departments, because it just grew so big, it's basically, I, as a community member, can go and I have this list of 40 charities that we support, including fire departments, EMS, and police. And I can say I'm going to donate 100 hours and whatever, or I'm going to work 100 hours and I want all those hours to go to the Child Advocacy Center or Lake Ozark Fire District. And then after the shootouts every year, we pay all of our bills, and then however many volunteer hours versus how much money is left becomes an hourly rate, and every organization is paid out on those volunteer hours. So you literally get in it what get back what you put in it, and we've just been able to increase that hourly rate substantially. So last year we saw a huge push. The checks pretty much doubled for every organization, and so it just does amazing things here in the community.
Yeah, it was an eye opener. Like one that I always notice is the smaller ones that are people that don't have as much of a tax base. Said like the operating cost for one of the fire departments there was $90,000 a year, and I think their check was for $68,000 or something like that. So It was like a majority of their whole year was paid for by the shootout. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And so they're one of the last tax base in the entire state of Missouri, or not one of the districts that is a membership, not a tax base. So they have no other funding outside of what they do. I mean, they are truly like your mom and pop fire department. They're very well trained, but they are ran off of memberships and chili nights and those old school community organization type things. So for us to be able to do that last year, previously, their check had always been, as it's grown, the most they had received was $30,000. Last year, they got $59,000. So they said we needed a truck, and we didn't know how else we were going to do this. So the fire chief was literally in tears. It was amazing. And then, like you said, a huge check again this year. So that helps them so much towards their budget. Because these are the guys that if you're in that Kaufman Bend area, they're coming, you wreck your boat, they're coming to help you there. And so we want to make sure they have. They've purchased a fire boat with the shootout dollars. They've purchased fire trucks. They've purchased new radios. I mean, it is 100% of their money goes to support the equipment in that area.
That's cool.
Yeah. Mark, I mean, you were there for the check presentation last week. Walk us through it. Tell us what the vibe was and everything.
It's awesome because they're not a lot of people that I know, but I've seen them around. Say, for example, I've lived here for 20 years, and then you see them at the shootout. You might walk by them and notice that they're doing something. They're in a uniform or whatever. But then when you go there, it's not like there's spectators, or it's not like it's overpowered with people that are either donating money or like at the shootout party, or basically. It's the people that are going to get the money and it's neat because there was a lot of organizations that I was like, even people sitting at our table, I'm like, I think it was Churd or it was something to where they
Sir.
provided 10 sir, yeah. And they
Yeah.
were sitting at our table. I'm like, what do you do? And so it's like, so trying to just figure it out and see where it's interesting to see where the money goes. It's not like it goes in Captain Ron's pocket or anything like that. So it's neat to see
Yeah.
this event to where the checks get all handed out. And, you know, uh, Captain Ron actually had I guess I call him Captain Robert. Ron Dugan had a death in the family and couldn't make it, but then they somehow they got our TVs in the shop to work with, and it was a cool deal to have him to be able to do a little speech for everybody that's there, being that he's such a big part of it. But yeah, so yeah, it's a cool vibe. I mean, it's a lot of older people that volunteer their time, and then some places like there's a little thrift store in Camden that basically she supplies food and clothing to homeless people and open a few days a week and all volunteer based, and she gets a little bit, so it's a, like she said, 40 different organizations that they do, but I don't think they're, maybe not all of them volunteered time this year, but there was still a ton of checks that were handed out. I don't know how many individual ones, but a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 39 checks this year. Some
39,
of them
yeah.
weren't there, and so they weren't called for. But yeah, and I mean, there was 39 organizations who volunteered, which is huge. And some organizations, like Raising Hope Free Store, they volunteer for the Make-A-Wish rides that we do at Performance on Sunday. They didn't turn in their hours for their organization. They turned them over to Make-A-Wish. So like these are the people, like the level people, they're amazing volunteers, and they could take that for their own organization. They're like, no, here, let me bless someone else. I mean, it doesn't get
Yeah.
much better than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was actually a young lady there that was a Wish recipient years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
has beat leukemia. I think it was leukemia or lymphoma, one or the other. And she's like, yeah, you wouldn't believe how much that has affected our lives when we were early teenagers and my brothers and sisters and all this stuff. So it was neat. They actually, I don't know if it was through the shootout or whatever, but she was part of Make a Wish and actually got to go to Disneyland when she was a young girl with this major health ailment. But yeah, it's
That's awesome.
definitely eye opening. It's just like when we go to the Make a Wish and you see all these families dealing with this major, issue in their life, and anything they can do to cheer them up and keep positive and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That illness is just such a stress on the family. So, like that voting day, that's, not everyone's on these performance votes. And so, for
Yeah.
kids to be able to want to go and families and just to take a breather, that's a huge thing for the families. So they know they get to come into the lake for a fun weekend. It's 100
Yeah.
degrees, but they're still coming and it's, they have a great time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, just to get your mind off of it, live life like a lot of people are fortunate enough to get to do every day. So they get to try to put the illness in the back of their mind. Brett does a lot. I mean, the Mawsons do a lot for that event. Tiffany's always up there talking about it and, tearing up and, but it shows how good their heart is. And
Yeah.
the vibe is awesome. I mean, the thing is, it's like you put in all this time and effort into the shootout, and then I last year was the first time I'd ever witnessed it, and this year I was like, Missy, you're going, because she's like dealing with kids and stuff, and so she went. She goes, that was cool, so
That's
it was
cool.
neat. Yeah.
Well, Leah, this is your second year as the head of the Lake of the Ozarks Shootout.
yep.
Tell us about how rewarding that must have felt for you that night, being at Performance Boat Center and being able to announce that massive total and distribute checks to the charities that need it most.
It feels pretty good. So last year we gave away 625,000, which was a huge increase from the 425. But it's been a secret that my goal is higher. So Ron sent me down last year before the event, and he said, "Now listen to me, Leah. I know you, and you're not pleased by this number. So I'm going to need you to smile for everybody." So he didn't give me a lecture this year because it was closer to my number that I wanted. So that was good. But yeah, no, and it just feels amazing to give it back because I know these organizations. I am really involved in the local nonprofit community. I sit on a lot of board, like the local diaper bank and those organizations. I know Jack and Judy with the Raising Up Free Store. I know a lot of them, and I know what their money does. And they are in the trenches because when you come to the lake, you're on the water and that's what you see. You don't see what's off the water. And what's off the water is a impoverished community that needs help, especially through the season that, that our restaurants and our bars and our industry, our tourism industry is kind of shut down. And so it's amazing to be able to know that that has a huge impact. And that, I truly do play just a small role in that because it's those 10,000 volunteer hours that make it all happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just what a tremendous effort by you and the entire team of volunteers and actual, members of the committee that has just really knocked it out of the park. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with for 2024. And speaking of 2024, why don't you tell us about some of the things you have in store for us?
More
we have a
stuff
lot
to
of
do.
new things. Yeah, that's right. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep Myrick really busy. No, I just have more questions to ask about racing now.
Right.
So the shootout, we have an offshore race here every year in June, and that's been planned. It's kind of gone through organizations over the years, but it is now officially under the shootout's wing. So we just made that
Nice.
announcement, and so we're excited to see that. The name's up in the air, so I mean, like, message me if you have a good one. I think Brett came up with Shootout Offshore. That's kind of the winner, but then it's like not offshore. It's offshore racing, but not offshore. I don't know.
Right.
So if you got something good, give it to me.
And this is the event formerly known as Lake Race.
Lake Race, and then LOTO
yeah.
Powerfest this year. It's
Right.
I think it's been a few things, but so it'll be. We're super excited to see that happen and to be able to give our shootout twist on it, and just hopefully really take that race and grow it. It has an amazing potential, and it's a time of the lake that it's not busy here, and so we really have can do a lot and build extra racing, extra time. So. I called Myrick and a lot of the guys, Sean Sorrente and Taylor Zism and several, Lauren Peters, several of them, and said, give me your top 5 things to change. And because I know there's been, there's with anything, we can always make it better. And so I'm checking all those boxes for next year. And so we're going to have an improved course and points and a purse and a second crane and really just do what we can to make it an amazing event that it should be here at the lake.
Yeah, right. And Mark, that event, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say my fundraising goal is $250,000 in 2 years for that race. So we'll get them to 250, shoot out to 750, and I'll hit my $1 million. I won't be happy until we do that. So
there you go. Mark, that event is literally in your backyard.
Yeah, if I look out the window here, it's probably about a quarter of a mile away. I mean, I'd have to look around the corner, but you'd definitely be able to hear it if I wasn't, in every damn boat that's racing out there. But but it's close, and they've talked about moving a little bit further down the lake, and I like that idea. Kind of get it out of the mouth of the gravelway that way. It widens out a little bit and doesn't block off the like main thoroughfare of waterway. The Water Patrol doesn't have to try so hard to keep everybody off plane and things like that. So I can remember when we raced at OSS down there. It would have probably been 2006 or 2007, and it was moved down more more towards Workman Cove, which is Alhana Cove and all that. Back then than it is over the last few years that we've ran it, where you actually come down here by 6 Mile Cove, but a little bit further to the south, basically. And I like that idea. I mean, there's just a big bluff along there, and until you get to like Frankie and Louise Cove, it's pretty protected, in that region. So anyway,
Well,
I mean, I'm pumped.
In addition to the offshore boats, Leah, you also mentioned that you're going to be inviting the F1 boats out.
Yeah, I think potentially. So I've got to navigate that a little bit with Water Patrol and regattas, but I'll have this conversation before this airs. That's for sure. We'd like to see F1s running. There's a great cove right there where the race happens, and so potentially we can have F1 running and offshore racing and the bracket races. And so before they were kind of cramming everything into one day, I'd like to see Friday testing, Saturday, Sunday racing to be able to really make the event grow and give us the time that we need and give the racers time to know that course and see if there's any problems, and so to get that testing in time. We're excited to see it.
Tim does a great job with his time frame and stuff with all the organization, and then the fact that he's a local guy is cool to where he gets to be like sleep in his own bed and and still have his events go on, which is, it's always nice.
Yeah, and breaking it up into 3 days, that gives you a little bit more of a breather there, Marek.
Yeah, we'll probably race my races back to back to back.
We'll just crane him in and out with the boats.
Right.
Yeah. That's what Roderick did to me in Key West. We're going to switch it up.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, you also mentioned that perhaps the kilo runs will be joining that weekend.
Yeah, so kilos, if we do kilos here next year, it'll happen on that weekend. I think it just makes sense while sanctioning bodies are here to do it all on that weekend. The kilos were a great addition this year, had some problems. Had a lady spill a glass of wine on the timing equipment. There's some great stuff happening no one knew about. So I think it'd be better just to move it over, kind of get all the sanctioning bodies together and work and do everything in that area. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mark, you know the course. I'm not sure where we'll run it, but we'll run it out there. It'll be tight. Isn't it?
Yeah. Depending on how long is that at your house or my house? Might be at my house,
I'm by myself, so if it's me, we're in real trouble.
So am I. So.
Oh yeah. So I hear a blender or something flying.
Yes, he needs a margarita.
Yeah. No, actually, I don't know what it is, but but I mean, it all depends on how much of the course. It's just those kilo runs. It felt really short to me at the shootout too, but I'm always wanting more space to when you're stretching them out to go that fast. But it is what it is. We'll see.
So I wrote out.
It was a pretty cool. It was a pretty cool change in the whole scheme of watching all the shootout passes, watching the race teams go for the kilo runs. So going down and back and having to take the average of 2 runs. So very cool. And hats off to you for pulling it off. It was quite an ordeal.
It was fun. Yeah. I actually made it out to the start boat. So, Water Patrol kind of delayed us starting because there was someone different on the water and they wanted more buoys and it took like an extra hour. So I was already just ready to murder somebody. And then I knew my ass is getting chewed. So then as the guys started running, so if you could have been with me, it was like someone in driver's ed. Every time the boats would get so close because, the first boat came in before it entered the course on plane. And so they're like, give them a warning. And the second time, so I'm sitting over here, hitting the brake on the boat. My husband's like, you've got to chill out because he's on the starboat running it. Oh my God, these boats are not going to stop in the course. And it was interesting for sure. But, I calmed down after the third run and realized they can't just quickly stop. But it was fun.
Mark, how did you think the courses ran other than a little short?
No, I think it was JBS that did it. As soon as he got on plane outside of the buoys, we're like, what the hell is he doing? We were told not to do that. So we're sitting there watching it and we're like, okay, well, and then next thing you know, they're like, don't do that. And we're like, well, we knew not to do that anyway. So, it wasn't bad. The thing about when you run at the shootout, kilo runs, in the past have been, I think the run up might be as much as, I don't know if there's even a limit. I think it's like a mile or 2 miles, and you're coming in straight. So you're coming to the start boat, whipping a 90, heading back towards the out of bounds markers and then turning a 180. So, you go as fast as you can towards those markers, but then you turn a 180 and come back. So, the max you can leave that area, depending on what boat you're in, is probably 85, 90 miles an hour leaving that turn. And then you have about a mile of run up, which I was very pleased with our numbers, but I know we could have been faster with both of them. But, it is what it is. There's only so much lake, and especially when you want spectators to watch it, the kilo that we were part of back in the day with Dave Scott, it was on December. It might even be right about now. It was ice on the windshield of the boat,
Oh, wow.
When we went out there. I think it was December, it was something when it was really damn cold out and there wasn't any other boat on the lake. So at that point, only spectators are people that are drinking their coffee in their house, and see it out their window. compared to, you know, thousands of boats or whatever it was for the shootout this year. And, you know, it's televised. I remember watching it in my snowsuit from the top of Hawaiian Island, which Hawaiian Island at the time did not have anything on it. It was just a bald little island. Now it's got condos all around it and a bridge to it, all that stuff. So dogfight coming through. Yeah, you guys are the only ones at your house. There's 4 kids and 3 dogs here, and my wife. So it's a regular shit show like normal.
Oh no, I'm at my office because there's 3 kids and 3 dogs at my house, and that's exactly what it is. So grandparents took them home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's fast forward to August of 2024, Leah, and tell us what we can expect for Shootout Week, which is the craziest week in powerboating.
It is, question. Yeah. So when I started, everyone kept saying that, and I'm like, but yeah, I've learned definitely, especially that street party. Oh my gosh. So we'll kick it off just like normal. Right now, that's the plans. Tuesday night Hall of Fame dinner, Wednesday night street party. Hopefully, I'm going to grow street in between now and August and stretch out a little bit further because we were absolutely at capacity this year. It was insane. And then Thursday night, the party at Performance. I'm trying to squeeze in a concert this year. Working with Monster Energy and those guys. Yeah. And so hopefully have a concert either Thursday or Friday, poker run Friday, and then racing Saturday, Sunday. So we're going to start. Myra, you can chime in on this, but I feel like the boaters enjoyed it being an earlier start this year. Some of the better water earlier. And so I think we're going to start racing earlier this year. On Saturday, Sunday, and then if nothing else, that gives us Sunday afternoon where y'all aren't like, there till 4:30 like we were this year.
Yeah, the nice thing about that, you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of the time we go up there to beat the no wake zone thing, and then you get up there and you stand for 3 or 4 hours, and that's just a waste of time. So I think it was awesome to get there and be like, hey, they're already running. You're like, what? I'm not used to that, and you look out there and there goes a boat. You're like, oh, we better get our asses out there, get this started. So, yeah, I mean, obviously weather and all that stuff comes into play, but yeah, I liked the fact that broadened it out. I think you moved the jet skis too, or had less time for the jet skis or something.
Yeah,
like
on
that.
Sunday, we shortened that time down, and we started them earlier, just like racing, so that we can get as many boat runs in, and then also the no wake doesn't start until 1. I moved it back to 3:00 this year, so we don't. If you had to run back to Performance to fix something, you still have plenty of time to come back up on the course before you hit that long extended no wake, 3 p.m. And there wasn't, that was the issue with Water Patrol. That's why it was changed to preserve damage and stuff on the water. And there was no complaints this year. So we're excited to hopefully keep that time frame this year.
It has a lot to do with the weather of those days too. I mean, you can plan all this no wake zone stuff and everybody's bitching about it, and then it'll rain and it didn't even come into play. It's like
right.
Everybody was just complaining to complain when it really didn't even affect anything. But if you get a 90 degree or 88 degree, not a cloud in the sky, and then, everybody's wanting to leave at 3:00 or whatever, then everybody's panicking. Their dock's going to get broke off. So, it's a catch-22 of, what's going to happen. So, yeah. But
inevitably it's going to rain. Like on Saturday racing, at some point, it's going to rain.
Right. It's better than the year before where it rained like all of a sudden. And you're like, it's done. And we're like, it's done. What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like the last one to find that out, by the way. So Brett's calling me like, Leah, you're really canceling? And I'm like, what are you talking about? No, we're on a regulator. They're like, no, you're not. Watch the TV. So I went in the production house. I'm like, what are you from? Because I don't know what's happening apparently. So we put rules into place. No one's canceling racing anymore without like me and 2 other board members making a call. So hopefully everyone was so pissed, man. They were like, why are you shutting down racing? It was like noon when they called it. It was early too.
Yeah.
So, and then it like got sunny, and I'm like, oh my God, please just freaking storm right now. That's what I need. Just let it hail. So
I know that's exactly the way that something goes when you, hey, let's cancel it, and it turns out to be the nicest day ever.
Right.
Yeah.
4 minutes after you cancel.
Yeah.
And this year it was actually the rain was kind of a welcome relief because it was so hot throughout the rest of the
Yeah.
week that it kind of broke it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you guys, it seemed like, was this the most amount of boats that made passes?
It was the most amount of runs, but it was not
Runs,
the most
right?
amount of boats. Yeah. So we had
How
I
many
cannot,
runs? Do
you
you
know, if
remember?
you wouldn't have asked me, I could have told you, but they came really close to that 300 mark. So it was a ton.
That's
I think it was
crazy.
like
Yeah,
278 maybe. So
yeah.
it was a ton of runs. We know on a perfect day and a perfect weather with no stopping, we can run 300 runs, you know, with the current race times. So we were getting close to that. And then adding the
That's
kilos. But like you said, we took away some of the time from the jet skis. I moved that air show out of the middle of the day. So I kept hearing like all of my racers were saying it's a boat show, like it's not an air show. But the spectators love it. So, and Myrick, I think, does probably enjoy chasing that airplane a little bit. Um,
I think it's cool. Well, this year I got to take the owner of the new 420 with me, and I'm like, wait till you see this, because I've done it so many times. It's like, and I've done it with Rusty and I've done it with Greg, but every time is their first time. It's like, wait till you see how close this plane gets to us, and then when you're going down the course and they're coming straight at you, you're like, which way do I go? And obviously I just keep it straight and let him not hit me. So. Otherwise it'll be like going down the lake and everybody turns towards each other. But yeah, so it's a neat deal, and it's neat for. I mean, I was actually thinking at the end, it was like, man, we just need to load this boat full of people. That way everybody can see what it's like to have a plane basically land on the deck of the boat that you're driving. And it's pretty neat. Leah sent me a picture the other day. It was pretty neat too.
Yeah, good old George Denny. It's a freaking cool picture. Yeah.
Yeah, you should load up a center console and run it down the course with the
that'd be cool.
So you're saying, Leah?
I did a TV interview earlier.
Really freaking out.
Right. Yeah, that's all I'm hearing is liability. Let's not talk about that.
Right.
I did a TV interview or a TV and radio interview last week for the Marine Dealers Association. And they said, "What's the fastest you've ever gone on the boat?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not someone that likes fast." But like Myrick, maybe I would go in the boat with the plane as long as I can still finish the races.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You just said it. You're going this year. You're going.
It's official.
Yeah,
it's official.
Right here tonight.
Right.
So
speaking of that, Leah, like I said, you were the busiest woman in Lake of the Ozarks, which you just assumed a new role that you just mentioned. You're the executive director of the Lake Ozark Marine Dealer Association. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited.
As if you didn't have enough on your plate, tell us what that position's entails.
So really, I look at it as a very similar position. It's just not racing. The lake industry functions on tourism, and the more tourists we have here, and the more we invest into the lake, the more boats the marine dealers are going to sell. And so they kind of asked if I want to put my hat in the ring, and it's a part-time position. We do the boat shows in Overland Park and in St. Charles, which are in February, and then that very first weekend in March. And so it completely offsets shootout season, race season. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I like seeing the boats. Justin laughs, like he's like, you don't know the difference between a $3 million boat and a $30,000 boat. I kind of do, right? Like I know if they're not, but maybe that's the extent of it. So I'm glad we're not talking boats or motors tonight. But yeah, so I enjoy it, and I enjoy seeing the boats. It'll be great, and just something new to do.
A lot of the same people you deal with for all the other events are the same people. So.
Right.
Like you already got their phone number. Just talk about something different.
So I actually sent an email. I had a new sponsor reach out, and at the Lambda thing last week, they were like, "We would really like to get some other people on board." And I'm like, "Oh, that guy just sent me an email yesterday about the shootout." So I sent him an email, responded to the shootout, and sent him another one. I'm like, "Hey, so can I wear a different hat and talk to you about Lambda right now?" But yeah, it's great. I went into the interview the end of November. I hadn't sent it to anyone, and it's like every dealer that I currently work with was shootout heavily, and so it was. They said, "Well, how can you handle the move-in on the street on the boat shows?" I said, "Have you ever been to the street party?" There's no difference. It's all chaos, so it's fine.
Exactly.
Leah, what was your background prior to joining the shootout committee?
I was a lobbyist. That 4-letter bad word no one likes. So I worked in public health, though. So in my defense, I worked for the American Lung Association and the American Cancer Society and lobbied on public health issues for many, many years, and then volunteered for the shootout. So that's how I was connected because of Justin running the Start Boat. I had a much better seat in the house on the start boat than I do currently. I never get to see the racing right now. But when Ron and those guys would pitch to some of the national organization sponsorships, they kind of reached out and said, hey, will you help us? Because I work for national organizations. And so as COVID happened, I decided you could kind of see the writing on the wall with like public health and where that was going. And that wasn't for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do for the next 2 years. And so I decided to step down from lobbying and reached out to Ron and said, hey, like I'm going to take some contracts. Are you guys interested? And we met the next week. So the rest is history. That was right before the 21 race. And they hadn't had a director, anyone in. And so it was like a month. And I'm like, here, I'm done. Like, I'll help you. He's like, no, I don't want any of this chaos to be like you're stepping into a month and then this come on you. So I started immediately after the 21 race and working on the 22 season. So it's been great. I love it.
That's outstanding.
It's totally different from like lobbying for public health measures to the marine industry. I mean, it's just totally different, but the nonprofit aspect is the same for me. So that's why I do it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, your hard work has definitely paid off, and it's shown. I mean, just working with you for the last couple of years, the organization is better. The whole vibe and the flow of the event is better, at least for us on the media side. So, kudos to you for that. It's no small task, and I know. So,
no, it's like herding cats.
You're never not resting. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, literally. Yes, absolutely. No, it's fun. It's great. I really enjoy it, and it's just a better subject to talk about. And I mean, where else could I? Maybe go race an airplane with Myrick next year.
There you go.
I'm gonna be like a Xanax to whore, so
wow,
count me out for award ceremony.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you definitely have your work cut out for you again. But if there's anybody that can handle it, it's you. So again, heck of a job on putting this together, and we're looking forward to the 36th annual Lake of the Ozarks Shootout, and we'll stay in touch with you obviously leading up to the event for all of the updates, and please provide us with whatever you've got.
Any new info, anything that's going to change, and then when we find out more on how the lake race is going to go down, we'll definitely talk about it. That's cool.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's fun.
Leah, thank you so much for joining us. And again, huge congratulations on the $675,000 given to Lake of the Ozarks local charities.
Way to go. That's bad to the bone right there.
Thanks. That's everybody, y'all. That's Mark, that's you racing, and Rayleigh, you promoting. I mean, it takes all of us to do it. So I'm thankful for every single person involved.
And all from the generosity of powerboaters. And so
it's amazing. I mean, I've worked in nonprofit my entire career and for national organizations, and I have never seen a more generous face in my life as powerboaters. And
that's awesome.
DC and back. I mean, I've done a lot of nonprofit work, and I've never seen it. So it's amazing.
Yeah,
and y'all are a lot more fun than my previous work. So.
Awesome.
A little less stiffy than politicians. So stuffing.
Awesome. Well, Leah, thank you so much for joining us. Have yourself a very Merry Christmas and enjoy your trip to Switzerland next year.
Yeah, here in a couple weeks. Yeah, it'll be fun. Freezing my butt off.
There you go.
So you do the same thing here.
Yeah, I know. We just randomly picked a trip last week, Mark, and we booked it to Switzerland in January. Justin's like, "What are we doing?" Knows.
I guarantee you,
there's nothing happening that time.
But there'll be some nice warm fires to cozy up next to.
There you go.
I guarantee that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful. I think kids are going to enjoy, being able to see that. And I actually saw the International Hot Air Balloon Festivals there over there. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful.
I was just talking to guys in the shop on how Missy likes to always take the kids to new places and broaden their minds and show them how small the world really is. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
Leah, thank you so much for joining us. This has been another episode of the Boats and Bros podcast with Leah Martin of Lake of the Ozark Shootout Committee and the new executive director of the Lake Ozark Marine Dealer Association.
Ooh, spit it all out.
That is a lot. That's why we say Lambda.
Lotto, Londa,
Shootout, whatever to make it shorter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Please remember to subscribe, like, rate, and share. We'll see you on the next podcast. Goodbye, bro. Bye, Leah.
Bye.
This podcast is powered by Speedboat Magazine. Subscribe now at speedboat.com for 9 power-packed current issues a year direct to your mailbox.